Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm Ted Types, as I was joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Hello, glad to be here. Glad to be talking Pokemon, and I think we're talking expanded today, which is fun.
Yeah, and hopefully we are actually talking because before the podcast you said that there is some heavy storms outside. So hopefully we both have power here today, right?
Yeah, there's a storm. It's there's wind. The wind's kicking up at times, so that's always a bit of a risk. But hopefully, go ahead and we'll pull through. I have confidence.
Yeah. Quality content as always here. But as you said, today we are talking about expanded format in Pokemon TCG Live. We're talking about some specific stuff, some general stuff. But first of all, what is expanded format? If you're not familiar, it is an official Pokemon TCG format. The regular official format is standard, but then there's also expanded, and this format is played in Japan more so than internationally. But it is black and white. There is a relatively small ban list, and then on top of that, there is also in Pokemon TCG Live they have expanded kind of because they haven't implemented the black and white and X and Y era cards, so it's Sun and Moon on. It does have the same ban list there, obviously with all the black and white and X and Y cards being band, I guess is like a word to describe it there. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah, right. So you're right. So missing the XY black and white, which that's something we'll talk about because that's a big factor. Because you can get lists for expanded, but they're really the full expanded. And I would say expanded is a fun format, but it really is almost the Japanese only format. There aren't international events, not official events. I don't think so. It can happen obviously in places in between friends and stuff, but it's not available everywhere. Oh, and then another thing with live that's important, you can't do friend matches. So you can't run a tournament, say in Limitless, or if you and I wanted to play an expanded, we couldn't just friend do a friend match. So that's a big factor as well.
Yeah, and another thing, this is usually something that you'd bring up because it's not my favorite thing to bring up, but there aren't ranked matches in it, which I think do, as we'll kind of talk about. People don't play it as much. They
Yeah.
take it less seriously, and taking it less seriously, I do like theoretically, but we'll talk about it. And there are some things that aren't so good about it. And then people play it less. So you said we can't play against each other like in friend matches, but I don't
Right.
know if we'd be able to if we both paired in if we'd play against each other. We haven't tried that, I don't think, but I would not be shocked if that's the case.
We should try it. And I think we need to not. We're not going to do it now, but I think you and I should try because I think you are correct. As I was saying, I think we probably would if we paired in at the same time. We probably would pair each other because I have had back to back rematches with the same opponent, which doesn't always feel good when it's like a matchup that's not a good matchup, and it's not it's not a great thing either way. You want to try to get something different, and I don't think there's a lot of people out there playing expanded, and there are waits to get matches too. I don't think in the last week though I've had it where I couldn't find a match within a reasonable time, but there's definitely a lot less people playing expanded.
Yeah, I don't think I've really paired into the same person multiple times or had super long waits, though. I definitely say it's worse than standard, where that's not an issue really at all.
Right.
And again, is something that like shouldn't really be an issue at all. And definitely, I think dissuades people from playing expanded more, so it kind of like compounds itself and makes things a little worse. And as you said, with that not being able to find lists online, like today, if you're watching us like on YouTube, then you'll see that we're looking at deck lists. We're looking at them for full expanded on Pokemon Book, which, as you said, it's the format's mostly in Japan. We're looking at Japanese deck lists here. I mean, it's like pretty much the same thing, but the cards aren't in English if you're not familiar with them. And then also the it's full expanded, not live expanded. So you need to make changes to your list. The list here, some decks aren't like playable at all or like good at all, and with the changes, we'll talk about them, and they're sometimes pretty difficult and clunky, and make the format less fun. I will say though, full expanded does have a lot of unfun cards from Black and White and X and Y era that are like problematic in various different senses. So I do acknowledge that there are some legitimate upsides to lives expanded over full expanded.
Yeah, I mean there are a number of hard control cards, meaning very powerful control cards in full expanded that we're missing, and I'm kind of glad for that. Not that Control doesn't have a place, but I think Control gets a little too powerful because you just have such a big card base to choose from. The frustration I think for most people, and I'm in that group too, is just that Pokemon keeps promising full expanded, or at least they've promised it. They've never gone back on that. So it's like, when are they going to do it? Right? It's been over 2 years now, and things don't haven't made any progress there. That's the frustrating part. I
Yeah,
think
and I think
about that.
they've confirmed. What if they confirmed? I don't remember because everything is kind of all a blur. Did they say they're doing it next year? I think they said they're not doing it this year, but
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think they said they weren't doing it one year. I think it was this year. They already said they weren't doing it last year as well. I don't, but I think yes. I think it's not happening. I don't remember if it was before like a new set or worlds or the calendar year, because or if it was like the Pokemon year versus the calendar year. I get confused, but I don't expect it this year. And when we see like in some of the older expanded cards have come back, been reprinted into standard format, that those cards all of a sudden break the game. So I don't think these older cards are in a good place yet to come into the game.
yeah, I don't know if they're like implemented at all. Just like behind the scenes, isn't we just can't play them, but you could like if they're like, oh yeah, you can play all these cards, if we'd be able to like do something, or if they're just not implemented at all. But like, I know one card is Prism Energy. Was that the one you're thinking of, or are you thinking of other ones as well?
Yeah, Prism Energy, which I think broke. It's has not worked right in multiple ways. I think since they brought it in. So yeah, right. I mean, I don't right. They might just be placeholders. If you go into live, you can see the cards. They're in there, but you can't. I don't believe you can put them in a deck list because I don't think you're allowed to put illegal cards into deck lists. So I don't think.
Yeah,
Um,
you'd be able to import it though, I believe. Not that it really matters, right? Because you're still not able to play with it, but
right.
there
Well,
are ways to like get illegal decks.
okay, but because like in this case, these are Japanese lists. You can't, as far as I know, I can't get a list that's in a format to import to live. Maybe I can. I have to look at the image and then enter the card. So it'd be honestly, it'd be nice to be able to put in the illegal cards so it's in the deck. I don't know how many copies, and I can figure out what the replacements are. So that it would be nice to do that for deck building. But that's a small point. I think part of why expanded is not is the play base is less. Like you said, it's not ranked, and you can't do friend matches. But also because it's not full expanded, you're on your own to do deck building, which is part of the fun of it, right? There are these lists, and you can modify them. Some you have to modify more than others, but because you have to work through the deck list yourself, you need to have a decent understanding of the cards in this limited expanded format. And if you don't have that, it's tough to step in and feel comfortable.
Yeah, and so that means that what I've seen a bunch of decks that are just standard, like just standard decks.
Yeah.
Like I played a game I think earlier today against just a Mega Lucario deck. It might have been the deck they give you for free. I don't know. I actually don't know what is the deck they give you for free. Pretty good.
It's okay. I did play that at first, and yeah, it's okay. Now, although you can make it better, but you can definitely
Yeah.
win in standard format within live with the free deck. Now, I haven't seen too many people playing expanded decks. I mean, standard decks and expanded recently, which is a good thing. It used to be like most of the time it was like somebody that probably accidentally entered expanded is kind of how it felt, right, with their standard
Yeah,
deck.
which I feel like is hard to do. I feel like that's not what's actually happening because I feel like I mean I don't know. I don't know what happens if you go to play expanded, never having played it before. Like if it even has a deck selected. Um, do you know?
No, I don't know. I haven't tried that. And obviously, it's too late now because
Yeah.
we've already we already have selected. I guess if we had a deck selected and then it becomes an illegal deck, I don't know what happens then. But you have two decks you select. You have your standard deck, well, three decks, and you have your expanded deck. Then you have your trainer trials decks. I do think there's more players in expanded than trainer trials most of the time, that based on wait times from my experience.
Yeah, I think even with because we were talking about like obviously alternate formats, GLC is a popular format.
Right.
GLC and Pokemon TCG Live does not have all the cards in from full GLC, and I would say it's like definitely worse. As I said, expanded has some upside. GLC like doesn't really have upside for having the expanded cards or the black and white era card is not here. But ultimately, it is a more popular format internationally. But it's not like it's played that much in live, in my experience. And you're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah. Now, I'm not a big GLC player, so I'm more often trying out the trainer trials when it's not GLC myself. So I'm sure there's a bit of a boost with GLC, but I think it's still not that popular because big GLC fans are not happy about the lack of full implementation.
Yeah, and I've said this before, but I think the live community and the GLC community are like very separate. Um, I think people who like as you said, they don't really they don't like live. I think as a whole, the GLC community, which there's things not to like about live. But anyways, I'm trying to think. We haven't planned this out here, but should we talk about specific decks now, or is there more general stuff to say?
I think talking decks, because part of it is there's certain cards that are common in expanded, both that you have access to and that you don't have access to. And I think if we hit a few decks, we will get through most of those cards.
Yeah. So I think we should start with Reggie Draco V Star here. I'm just going to look at the top list on PokeCard Book. And Reggie Draco V Star, if you're not familiar, it's a very powerful card. It is a Sword and Shield era card, so not standard here. It is a card that was decently strong in standard. The top deck in the game at some points. And what it does here for grass, fire. Also, it's a V Star. It's essentially a stage one, and it evolves from a two prizer, and it's also a two prizer. And so for grass, fire, this is the main thing here. You copy one of your dragon Pokemon, an attack of a dragon Pokemon in your discard pile, and you don't need the energy. Well, you need the grass, fire, which is like moderately expensive, but there are some that are more expensive. And then it can also be of any stage there. And then also you have an ability here, but this is a V-Star power, which means it's a once per game thing. You can use one V-Star power per game. It's important for some decks. It's not hugely important for Richie Draco. And were you playing a V-Star power in all of the decks you were playing?
No, I don't think I haven't played any V stars in my decks this week.
Yeah, or like Force Seal Stone.
Forest Steel Stone, yes, I played that in all my decks. So which
Okay, so you do have a V-Star power in all your
that's
decks.
true because that overturns the marker. I was going to say, is it a V star power? But yes, it flips over the marker. So yes, I have that.
But anyways, they're like meaningful kind of kind of like an ace spec, but anyways, you get to like get some cards from top of your deck and then like discard them and then recover some stuff. It's like a search setup recovery thing. Has some value, but it's not like crazy. But ultimately what you're doing here, obviously, as I said, copying attacks in your discard pile of dragon Pokemon, one of the most powerful dragon Pokemon ever. Because I didn't mention this I meant to say earlier, power creep is a real thing and expanded. I think people exaggerate power creep, but definitely with the black and white, I'd say from black and white to X and or no to what was I gonna say Sun and Moon, the two prizes are definitely weaker than and then two President standards. So ultimately, you're not going to see too many in these decks here. But regardless, the best Pokemon generally is going to be Dragapult. EX, obviously, very strong card in standard. Hits the active for a good chunk of damage, the bench for some as well. Then you have some disruptive cards, like there's some Noivern, which you can do to like item lock, special energy lock, basic block. Things like that. There's just some very powerful attackers that can do like 300 damage or so, and some like spread stuff as well. There's Kyurem to do huge spread damage at the cost of losing, I believe, all your energy. And then
Yeah,
you have the Dialga GX here. This is a GX attack. GX attacks are essentially the same as V-Star powers. They are different though, so you can use one of each, and then from there you get to take an extra turn. You do 150 and then take an extra turn. Which is very powerful. I'd say that's the best attacker that you have that you never had in standard with Reggie Draco, because Reggie Draco was paired with Dragapult in standard.
right. Now, most of the attackers you're copying for Jujutsu, I think, are evolutions, so you don't have to worry about starting them. Obviously, like the the Dialga you said, that
Yeah.
one is a basic, so you could start that, and I'm pretty sure you can't attack with it. And I don't know if you have a way to get it out of play off
Yeah.
your bench on
It
this
might
list.
depend. Yeah. On this list, it looks like you don't. And then another card that's very important. Oh wait, so you do have the stadium, which you don't have in live. The um Dimension, no, not Dimension Valley, whatever, the one that shrinks their bench, Parallel City, there we go. I'm pretty sure, I hope that's the right name. But anyways, so you also have the really powerful special energy card, which is arguably, so I didn't say this yet, but Richie Draco V-Star in full expanded is like by far the best deck. It's like super, like kind of broken. People have been asking for something in it to be banned, potentially Reggie Draco or the other really powerful card, which is double dragon energy, a special energy that's just 2 energy of any type on a dragon Pokemon, which is obviously very good. 1 energy of any type is pretty good. 2 energy is just kind of absurd. And dragon Pokemon in expanded are pretty good. Not necessarily broken without double energy, but double dragon energy, but they're certainly decent. And then with it, they're broken, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, Double Dragon's insanely powerful. In some sense, this is where not having it is that's kind of the argument for why the live beta format is kind of has some validity unto itself, right? Because getting rid of it, I think, is healthier. Because when you look through the top decks, expanded Reggie Drago is the dominant deck. It's got so many pieces. You can get it powered up better and expanded, and part of why it's so good is Double Dragon. So not having Double Dragon in the live, I think makes it more balanced. Of course, it would be better if it was an intentional decision by Pokemon, rather than a lack of their ability.
Yeah. And I'll say, obviously, we're talking about live here today. So Richie Draco was originally in standard play with TLMS Ogre Pontiacs. That's how I played in live. I played against someone who was playing this deck as well. And it's still good. And it's also fun. The reason that I think maybe that these cards shouldn't be banned, because they are very powerful. But ultimately, it is fun. It's a toolbox style deck. If you're
Yeah.
not familiar with what that is, it's a deck where you have different attacking options. You have, as I said, spread, big damage, disruption. The disruption is not horrendous to play against, personally, I would say. I mean, it's not awesome, but it's not like completely locking you out of the game, really, unless you're playing like a very specific type of deck that really heavily relies on one type of card. But ultimately, the deck's pretty fun, and but it still works without double dragon energy. It's not as good. It's probably more fair. As we were saying, we're not playing against the best of the best decks in live expanded here, so it's a bit hard to gauge. But it felt pretty good to me.
Right, you're playing the Reggie Drago with the nerfed version that you have access to. It's probably a competitive deck, I would think. Without Double Dragon. You want to talk about some of the other cards that we're missing in the live expanded from this deck?
Yeah. So you have, let's see, what are the big ones? I'm trying to think. I'm looking through. There's like muscle
Well,
band. Oh, so the big one.
go ahead.
So what are you gonna say?
I mean, there's Ranger, right, which isn't one of the big ones. I'm pretty sure that's Ranger there.
Yeah, that's Pokemon Ranger, which counters Arceus, Dahlia, and Palkia GX, which is good. I think it's overrated. People put it in like top 10 cards of all time, which it's like not. But right?
Right, because what it does, it shuts down the effects of attacks for the rest of the game that have been played up to that point. And ADP's effective attack is from their GX attack. They can't redo it, so it's very good. Honestly, a deck like this, I don't think needs Ranger. I'm more of a single prize person, and it's
Well,
a go on.
oh yeah, Pokemon Ranger also removes item lock, which is like very useful.
Right, which is much more bigger deal in expanded than in standard because more ways to do it. So it's an important. It's a card of note. It's not the most important card though. I mean, a couple cards that you're missing, Floatstone, which that gives you free retreat or removes the retreat cost actually, right? So therefore, if there's something that has an effect that adds to the retreat cost, it doesn't. It's still free retreat. So that's really good. Most decks, Air Balloon is fine. For this deck, I'm trying to look. Some decks, well, Richie Drago's retreat cost is 3, so
Yeah.
it's a big deal for this deck going to Air Balloon, or you have to play some switches instead. So, and that's a card I wish was in the format because I think it's just a good card. I don't think that one's over the top. There's also the tool, which I think you were mentioning, which is that
Yeah, muscle band.
yeah, muscle band, which boosts it by 20. So there's vitality band that boosts it by 10. Is that what you put in instead, or did you just drop it?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I
Okay.
got a list from somewhere else which didn't play it, but I didn't include it. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, Vitality Band is like in standard, it's not very good, right? And
Right.
so yeah.
Right, because a lot of decks play the muscle band. It's a big deal for the decks I was playing. So it was a bigger hit. I think Richie Drago hits pretty good numbers anyway. So I think you can get by without it. Um, and
Yeah.
what?
Oh, also, sorry,
Good.
I said Vitality Band. Like Vitality Band's okay in standard. It's not like it's not that good though. It's not like an auto include. I think Muscle Band is closer to that.
Right.
Um, yeah.
I mean, Vitality Band, which is 10 more, you have to be playing a deck that you're worried about a matchup that you think you'll see frequently enough that 10 extra damage matters, I think. With Muscle
Yeah.
Band, you could almost just slap a copy in every deck and you're going to get value out of it.
Yeah. And then also there is, as I said, the Stadium Perilous City. Perilous City is actually super good. Also a card I don't like. I'm not gonna lie. I really think its design's bad. Also, I pulled up on live. I can't like read it, so that's awesome. But it's a stadium that's du double like side like double direction. Well, I don't know. It like does different things for different people. The one
Right.
effect is kind of useless. And then the other one reduces bench down to 3, which is like brutal, or allows you to get rid of bench Pokemon if you want to get rid of like Pokemon that are liabilities. Speaking of, I played against Avery. I always love to hate on Avery because it's bad. I had like 4 Pokemon on my bench. One was Dedenne GX and one was Tapu Lele GX. So, and they played it because they had to draw, and it was obviously bad for them. So, just wanted to mention that there. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's useful for different things. It's really nasty to have to deal with at times as well. Parallel City, not Avery.
right. Yeah, no, Perilous City is a powerful card. So I think it's whether it's a good card or not, I guess don't question. Part of the text is upside down on it because you choose which way to play it, who it affects, and even so in live, I'm sure it's awkward. Well, it's not in live, so we don't. I
Yeah.
imagine it'll be awkward in live once it's implemented. And even in Limitless here at the card, they don't have they didn't get all the text right, so all the text isn't here for the card. I think the upside down text they didn't put on the page, so
No,
you know.
I think it's actually the other way around.
Oh,
I'm wondering if it's
yeah,
because like you can't read the upside down text, so it's there. But like normally all the text should be there. So
yeah.
yeah.
So it's a weird it's a weird card, right? That goes into a good number of decks. I guess what the other are probably the two most important cards. Are there any other cards we get to the two big cards that aren't in
Um,
the format?
there is. Sorry, I'm looking through here. Oh, well, no, this is not a big card. Well, I don't know. It's a good card. It's N, but it's like the same as
Oh,
Iono. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and right, and as a good card, you definitely would like that in is an option in decks. And again, I don't think it's not like a crazy powerful card, overpowered card. So yeah, you put in Iono most likely. That's usually
Yeah. I mean, they're like the same card, right?
they're very similar. Yeah. So and you just kind of stick in Marnie instead, I mean Iono, and you go about your way.
Yeah. And then I guess after we talk about the cards that aren't here, we'll talk about the cards that are. But yeah, you want to talk about the two big ones.
Two big cards, which are most the one every deck would see, and that's Versus Seeker, where you can take an item card that you take a supporter from your discard pile, put it into your hand. So super awesome. Um, Again, how do you replace that in decks? We'll talk about. And the other card which goes with it a lot of times, but isn't quite as universal, is Battle Compressor, another item card. You search through your deck and you take 3 cards and put them in the trash. I think does is it have to be 3 or is it up to 3? I'm trying to.
It's up to 3. Yeah, it needs to be at least one that you discard, but
Okay.
it can just be one.
Right. So, but having been like a big Mad Party player versus Battle Compressor, super awesome in decks like that want to get things in the trash. And one of the decks I was playing would really like Battle Compressor as well. So it's a way to get stuff in the discard pile that you need there. It's a way to thin your deck once you find out what the matchup is in a controlled way. So it really helps your consistency there. And whether you play Battle Compressor or not, Versus Seeker is just an insanely good card. In some ways, I don't mind these cards not being format because they are so good. I don't mind taking them away, because they are maybe on the overpowered side.
Yeah, they're definitely very strong. I think, I mean, if they're like really, they'd be kind of absurd and standard.
Yeah,
I mean, Battle Compressor is like is not an every deck card, but it's very good in some decks, in a bunch of decks. And Verse Seeker, honestly, I'm shocked it's not a 4 of here, because it essentially
yeah,
allows you to play like because normally you have like supporters, like a bunch of supporters, like say boss, because we have Guzma. Guzma's like boss, but a little different. And so normally you play like a few boss because you want to boss multiple times throughout the course of the game, and you want to be able to have it when you need it. But here you can battle compressor plus versus seeker allows you to search for a new supporter and play it, and then assuming it's not prized, and then with um with versus seeker you can play it as many times, or you can play it up to as many times as you have versus seekers plus I guess one if it's a one of, which is really good because it means you can cut into your supporter counts. In this list we see outside of Guzma, which is a two of, there's how many supporters? Nine, I think. I'm gonna miscount it there.
Yeah, I
But
think
there's like nine. Yeah,
there's nine one-ofs, which you can't get away in standard, but you can because of versus seeker.
yeah. And some of the one ofs do have some overlap here, but a lot of them don't. Um, which is it's something that again it's really cool. I think it
Yeah.
allows some like different plays, but again it is like kind of overpowered as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in one sense, with the way you present it, I kind of would like it back, but I'll bounce back and forth on that opinion. I'm sure over time, it does allow it allows more flexibility. You can play some extra supporters you would in thinner lines of things, so you get more cards. Gives you a little more variety and option, which is good. I mentioned in the past, well, again, that control's good in expanded, and part of it is the fact that you can then keep recovering like the supporter that like messes with your opponent and stuff with versus seeker. That helps that out a lot as well.
Yeah.
Also, just want to mention here the older A specs are not in the full expanded. I mean, not in live expanded, right? So we
Yeah.
don't have um, would the
Computer
two,
search.
yeah, computer search, which is the big one. You discard, is it two cards? It's been a while, and
Yeah.
you search for any one trainer,
Card.
any
Card.
one card. So super awesome. And then there's the verse. Dowsing machine is kind of the opposite. Discard two and from hand, and recover one card from your discard pile into
Yeah. I
hand.
think that one's trainer.
Oh, any trainer? Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
But pretty similar.
yeah,
And I will say they're not really played that much. I mean, in this deck, I made a video about this a little while ago. I think the best ace spec in full expanded is what is this Megaton Blower? I think, which discards like special
yeah,
energy tools and stadiums or something. Because there's so much special energy, like Double Dragon energy, as I said, super good.
yeah.
And so that's like interesting here. And then also speaking of the control thing we mentioned earlier, Megaton Blower. I mean, it's a control card. You have like Badu, which is a control card. You have a good chunk of hand disruption with different pros and cons. So that's like controlly. You have just a lot of like pseudo control stuff or like actual control stuff in this deck, as well as this powerful attacker. So most of the decks in full expanded are decks with a substantial amount of control in them.
Right, because Reggie Drago's clearly an attacking, aggressive deck, but yet it plays control cards because you just have these good options of these very strong control cards that you can, excuse me, just slot a couple into your deck. So it's more present in all decks in the full expanded format. Some form of control is a bigger thing. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And then, so I think we should now talk about. Obviously, spent a lot of time on this deck, but I think there's some more stuff to say here, which is
Yeah,
the stuff in actual live expanded. We've kind of touched on it a little, but there are some powerful supporters like Marnie, which is it's kind of like Judge, but it's like
right.
cross between Iono and Judge. It's like pretty solid. But it's good. You have Raihan. It's kind of like Crispin, I guess. It's and like pretty good energy acceleration as well as search. Then you have some disruptive supporters here as well, like getting rid of energy and stuff like that, as well as Guzma. Guzma is, I guess, really good. It allows you. It's like boss, but it's like prime catcher instead of boss, but on a supporter. So it is better than boss. It's not like a lot better than boss, but it's a little better than boss. So I guess that makes it like really good. But compared to standard, it's not like absurd. And then there's also the some item cards here. Quick Ball, you get a basic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. You discard another card from your hand to do so. Getting into your hand allows you to play Pokemon obviously from your hand onto your bench, which allows you to use abilities like Dedenne GX or Crobat V. These are or Tapu Lele GX. These are on play abilities that like draw you cards or get you cards, which are very powerful. I recently made a poll on my channel about them. And yeah, there's a lot of really powerful ones here. And then you also have Hisuian and Everball to get stuff out of your prizes. I think those are the main ones, at least in this deck here. It's not like a crazy difference. Oh, I guess there's also attackers, but I mentioned those before. So yeah, I mean, there's some cool trainers to give you more consistency and power and just let you do some things that are just a little more than what you do in standard.
Yeah, I would say I don't think you mentioned Field Blower.
Oh yeah,
So that's a staple for most decks. You get rid of an item that gets rid of any combination of up to two stadiums and tools that are in
yeah,
play. So just a really good counter card there.
yeah.
Um,
And then you want to move on to the next deck, or
yeah. So shall we talk about the Lucario deck at this point? Is that good for
I don't
you?
know. I feel like we should
What do you want to do?
talk about Lugia.
Okay, the other of the big decks. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lugia here, Lugia V-Star, another V-Star. It has a V-Star power that puts essentially two Archeops onto your bench. Archeops searches for two special energy, attaches them to one Pokemon once every turn. So it's like a lot of special energy acceleration. The idea here is you want to go ahead and you want to set up you use double dragon energy to set up dragon Pokemon. There's some overlap in terms of attacking options with this and Reggie Draco. Ultimately, it's a strong deck here where you're just going to setting up powerful attackers relatively easily. I will say there are lots of different attacking options you could use here if you're not playing Dragon Energy, Double Dragon Energy, which you're obviously not in live. I played it. I played it very similarly to this, except like replace the energy counts. And with that, I decided to just make them like rainbow energy or aurora energy, which are energy of any type on any type of Pokemon, which allows you to use certain crazy Pokemon like stellar Pokemon, for example. Um, Ultimately, there are some pretty cool options you can do here. This deck's also super strong. Also, I will mention that like a lot of these decks have ability lock. There's Garbodor in full expanded, which isn't legal in live expanded, but there's like other similar options like Path to the Peak and stuff. So you're going to see a lot of item lock and ability lock and stuff like that in these decks.
Yeah. So I mean, again, most it looks like most of the Lugia decks are dragon based decks to take advantage of double dragon, which of course you can accelerate with the Archeops. There are other builds too. There's some colorless and a bit of some other types with of other energies, but a lot. I guess the double dragon's the big thing because it is such a good card. Um, yeah. So we got here. Oh, we have like a big card here, special charge, right? If I'm getting the name right,
Yeah.
3 copies, and this is a crazy good card for any deck that's a special energy deck, really. It's an item. You take up to two energies of any type, so that covers special energy. Usually, things like this just are basics and go from the discard pile into your deck. And honestly, if it was a supporter that did this, it would still be pretty good because you can't really do this very easily. But as an item, it's just crazy good. For decks like this, they really thrive with a card like this.
Yeah, and it's definitely a card that, a special energy is cool. We're gonna talk about some of the decks you played, and it's definitely kind of disappointing when you can't have access to as much special energy as you want. It has
Right.
gotten like there's a lot of good special energies in live expanded
Yeah.
still. Ones that provide multiple colorless energies. Double Dragon is just like the big one missing, which changes things a lot. But yeah, definitely a card that in order to like change it out like for other things, it's hard to like decide. But speaking of changing things out, you mentioned before the podcast you want to talk about Battle Compressor and like Versus Seeker because obviously it's very good and like how you'd replace that in decks.
Right. So, I mean, Battle Compressor, we have the one A spec that you search for five, right? And discard them.
Yeah.
You could do that, but that's your A spec. So, maybe you do that. But I don't know there's anything else for Battle Compressor, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, I'd say just like more. I don't know, it's like Ultra Ball, Quick Ball, but you're probably playing
yeah.
for that anyway. But
Right. And if you weren't like this deck plays like three Ultra Ball. If you didn't have Battle Compressor, you got to slot in. You'd slot in a fourth Ultra Ball to help deal with that. And there are other cards that help discard, so you might do some of those. Versus Seeker is the one though that's even more widespread than Battle Compressor. Obviously, so it recovers supporters now, so you can put in Pal Pad like a deck like this. A lot of decks play three versus Seeker on it. So that's been like the most common number I saw looking at them. So I think I got to slot in one Pal Pad because it gets recovers two. It's to deck, so it's not as good, but I probably want some recovery. You can't run though like the previous deck, the Regidrago deck, where you're running like 9 1 of supporters. You can't do that without Versus Seeker in Battle Compressor. So you're forced to consolidate your supporters. I think that's one thing, good or bad. And then you probably want like I was putting in Pokegear 3.0, 1 or 2 copies of that because that gives me some agency to get the supporters. And then I probably the other thing was put in just a good general utility supporter like Marnie or something like that you know, I hit that instead of gives me something that's generally useful most turns. So Palpad, Pokegear 3.0, something like Marnie. Those are kind of the cards I'm slotting in for it, but it's nowhere near as good.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing as well. And I will say there is also an ace spec that's like double versus seeker. You get two supporters when
Yeah.
you discard into your hand, which honestly is like you don't really need the second one. You don't get that much value out of it, but it is like an option. I've essentially never seen it played. I actually don't know if I've ever seen it played. I don't know if I've ever played with it either, but it is an option if you really want to do it. But obviously, versus seeker is an item that you can run 4 copies of or 3 copies of, so you have it when you need it, which isn't true of the A spec, because especially because you're not searching out items. The only way you search out items is really going to be with supporters, which like defeats the whole purpose.
Right, because then you can't use the supporter again. So you can't play the supporter you get. So versus Seeker, just it's a loss. You can't really get around it. I don't think. Like I said, you're probably putting in a pal. You may put in a pal pad, but then the other thing is, like this Lugia deck, like you're going to play multiple copies of these other supporters. That you're that's what I like. You're not going to play just one Guzma. You're probably playing a couple Guzmas. You're playing a couple Ionos. That's maybe what you do for a list like this with a small set of supporters. You're just doubling up the supporters in the list. Like the other deck, like I said, that has a lot of one ofs. You're just going to have to go in a different direction probably to make a workable deck, I suspect.
Yeah, and then also this deck does play actually another supporter that is theoretically very strong. Was actually banned at one point, and that's the supporter here, Wally. Wally lets you, if you're familiar with Salvatore, it's like Salvatore without the restriction. Turn one, or any turn, but like the idea is turn one going second, you can play this and then evolve one of your Pokemon. You search for a Pokemon that evolves from it, you evolve it, and this is really good because turn one you can get your Lugia V Star into play, or really any powerful stage one or stage one equivalent there, which can be useful. It's not like insanely useful. It kind of depends, and it can lead to some really powerful stuff though. Kind of depends on what you're doing, but it's just like a pretty solid supporter here, which I cut. Obviously, there's not really a replacement for it, so that made space for other supporters.
Right. I mean, we do have the one that you can evolve something without an ability, but that's not going to help you with Lugia and Archeops, though, is it?
No.
And the other thing is with Wally, it doesn't let you get those Pokemon with abilities that shut you down, that the control style Pokemon. It gets those into play, so that help another thing that helps out the control aspects for some of these decks. And then we also have like the what powers and stuff too, or bodies, whatever they have in
Yeah,
some of these
those aren't
cards.
an expanded.
They're not in full
That's
expanded.
No, they're not in full expanded. It cuts off
Well, the
right report.
what's the Bunnelby that's an expanded? There's a
Oh,
Bunnel
it has an ancient trait.
an
Yeah, so
ancient.
that's
Okay, I misspoke, but I group all those things together. Right, they're things like abilities to me that aren't called abilities. So
yeah, ancient traits were a smaller thing. There are Pokemon with ancient traits and abilities, so that's like kind of cool, I guess, but non live expanded.
no, so we don't have to worry about that. And hopefully, when they like if they when they implement it, like are the ancient traits what are the odds that they get it to work right when something shuts down abilities and things like that? I imagine we're going to have a lot of headaches for a while once they implement that.
Yeah,
Another card I want to make mention of and then want to quickly forget is Silent Lab
yeah,
because it's been a bane to a lot of the decks I've played. Each basic Pokemon in play in each player's hand and in the discard pile has no ability, so very powerful. And you can do some good things. You can also shut off your abilities with decks that take advantage of that so that when there's abilities that hurt your Pokemon, you get around that, but also just shuts down. Obviously, like every deck we're looking at, you're playing the Tapu Lele and Crobat Dedenne. Sorry, no good there. And also, but it's only basic, so you can't get your Palafin into play with it, your Palafin EX into play, because that doesn't get shut down, unfortunately.
yeah. And I will also mention here. So there's Path to the Peak. Path to the Peak is in full expanded, or no, I mean it is. It's in live expanded,
Yes.
which is a card that is very good. It's actually similar. It does turn off all stages, which and all abilities of Rulebox Pokemon. This is very good. Obviously, there are times when it's turning off stuff you want it to turn off in your deck. So Silent Lab can be better. Silent Lab also turns off more things, but that is here, but does not turn off cards in hand. That is a rule change. It doesn't really, or like not a rule change. It's just like a change in wording they've made over time. It doesn't really matter, but it does matter with, as you said, Palafin. Palafin EX is a deck we're not really going to talk about today, but you can play it directly by turning off its ability in full expanded, pairing it with not Silent Lab, but with something like Garbodor, I think is what they use, maybe Wobbuffet, something like that, to ability lock, and then just play it, which is actually isn't like, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I don't know if it's actually interesting to play. It then just turns into like a generic Pokemon, but it's still kind of fun.
I like it's fun in the sense that you can do it, and it's also okay because it's not Palafin's not all of a sudden overpowered, right? Because we would be seeing more Palafin decks than, which I don't know if there are any here that are getting played rather than the Regidrago deck. So it's good. You lets you do something you can't otherwise, but it also doesn't make it overpowered. So good design, I guess, there with Palafin. I suppose, although I don't know if I really feel that way about Palafin because it's a little disappointing, but.
Yeah, I mean, I see one list here. There's some like pretty weird stuff in this list as well. But you want to talk about some weird decks you're on right now?
Yeah, so I've been playing, well, first like a Mega Lucario deck, which is an okay deck. And partly just to talk about some of these things. This is still it's a lot like a Mega Lucario standard deck, although it gets a lot of cards that make it better. That doesn't have enough. What I want to have in the deck, which I don't now, is another fighting attacker. But I did base it on a deck that I got from the Japanese list. So I based it on that just to give me a start. Having with the energy acceleration of the Lucario, another attacker would be good. But you do get some nice cards. You get the older Lucario, the single prize one that has the ability to put energy on it that then can do big damage on a basic. You get Radiant Greninja, which is tremendous in a lot of decks. I don't know if either of your decks was playing Radiant Greninja, but great draw. And it gets rid of, you discard your basic energies, which you need to do for Lucario. So great for a lot of decks there. You get something, the Prism Stars,
Yeah.
which we haven't mentioned yet. Did you want to
Sorry,
say?
do you play Luatone Silvak?
I do not in this list. So it makes the bench space better. Um,
Yeah.
Now, one of the cards that comes into play, this list does include Skyfield, which is the stadium that lets you have 8 on the bench. And obviously, we don't have that. And that was in, I think, the uh, the one deck you're talking about, the Lugia
Yeah,
deck
Lugia.
as well. So
Mhm.
that's a big loss, a bigger loss than some of the single prize decks, which I like to play too. Expanding to 8 Pokemon, you can expand to 8, but you have to have a Terra. Obviously, I don't. I'm not playing a Terra in the list. They didn't have one. I don't have a Terra, so I don't think that's just going to make things worse. So you just kind of have to give up on that expanded bench generally because we don't have Skyfield, which I wish was in format.
Yeah. And you could play like Fighting Ogre Pawn, but
Yeah,
you're gonna ultimately be making sacrifices no matter which route you go.
right. I mean, Skyfield Stadium is the simpler solution. I want to talk here. It plays once again one Tapu Lele, one Dedenne, one Crobat. You're building an expanded deck. Put those 3 cards in, and then you might change it if need be. But most decks play a copy of each of those, so that you'll see that's a staple, which is fine. It helps consistency, it helps you set up. So I think it's good. Playing a Prism Star in this deck, which I don't think your decks were playing any Prism Stars. I liked having access to the Prism Stars. This one is playing the Deancey, which is the Fighting Prism Star. They're all, in this case, they're stadiums, which this deck doesn't have, but and then there's basic Pokemon. I think those are the only 2 type of Prism Star cards that there were.
There's also supporters. I don't know how good they are. There was like a
Okay.
combo deck, but yeah.
Okay, there's supporters, but they didn't see much play, I don't think. So Deancey has the ability, fighting Pokemon do 20 more damage, so that's very nice. You can only have one of in your deck, and it goes to the Lost Zone when it's knocked out. If you play the Stadium in your deck, which one of my decks does, the Stadium can only be bumped by playing another Stadium. What is it? Items don't get rid of it, I think. Field Blower doesn't work. I don't remember if
Uh,
supporters work or not.
ye- I think it's items and supporters. I'm gonna look real quick. Where's it say? Yeah, items and supporters. But yeah, like stuff like Marshadow would still be able to get rid of it.
Right, Pokemon abilities can, and bumping it with the Stadium. But because most decks are playing a Field Blower, That's the main. And once you have Fill Blower, you're not so worried about getting rid of a stadium, but it does help it stick around. So the Prism Stars are good. 20 more damage is good. Obviously, the deck like this also to boost damage gets to play the Fighting Energy, which is what's the name of that one?
Strong
Strong
energy.
Energy. Yeah, Strong Energy, which gives you 20 more damage. We don't have access to that, unfortunately. I put in the Stone Energy instead, which takes 20 less. I don't know if it'd be better just to put in basic energies instead, quite frankly, though. But the HP is not is good on Mega Lucaria, so probably having a little bit of tankiness, I think, is a good thing. But that's a big loss in the deck. So what else is going on here? Um, okay, so again, the original list will play. Wait, I got confused here. Sorry. Because I'm seeing Brooklet. Oh no, I play Brooklet Hill in the list. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
that's what this was. So, which is actually good for the list. You get access to a basic fighting or water Pokemon. Had to think about it when playing against the Chin Pao deck. Do I want to slap it down or not? But usually you want it down anyway. Obviously the original list would play the float stone. For this list, it doesn't matter playing the air balloon unless your opponent's like playing, spite, one of the cards that boosts retreat cost. It doesn't matter, so it's not a big deal here with that. You still obviously get all the good fighting boosting cards that are new. You're missing out on the muscle band. That would have been a very good card to have. So those are the big things that the deck is missing. What else is the deck missing here? And Stone. Oh, Karina. That deck,
Okay.
which is one which I don't know if how bad I miss it. That's a supporter. Search your deck for a fighting Pokemon and one item, which is good. Probably would like to play it in the deck. I don't think I'm happy having to cut it, but it is what it is. So I don't think it doesn't cripple the deck, but it'd be nice to have.
Yeah. And does your deck play any like control or like disruptive elements other than like basic hand disruption?
No, it's not in no control aspects to the deck at all, which makes it easier. One of the cards, you mentioned Guzma being good for the decks, which is good. A deck like this really benefits a lot from Guzma because with Lugia's attack, the big attack doing 270, which you're generally wanting to boost, to get above 300. You can't use it again, so you need to switch. So having that extra switch on Guzma is a big plus in the deck. You kind of need that. You have that, and you have your float stone / air balloon, and then you can attack with the same Pokemon again, which is meaningful.
Yeah. And yeah, that's useful. Do you play Latias? I know, obviously, Lucario not a basic there, but
Right.
I've seen like a lot of decks playing Latias. I mean, even in standard, like evolution decks are, it's not crazy for them to be playing it.
Right. This list does not. It could be an issue, but it doesn't have. This list does not. I have a Miraidon list which does play Floatstone and Air Balloon in it, which gets a little
Oh,
odd, but they went with
wait, you
that.
mean Latias?
I'm sorry, Latias. Yeah, the Miraidon deck, which has Latias and Floatstone. So they went with a double way to handle it. It plays the an evolution, so that might be part of why they have the Floatstone in it.
Yeah. What's in that deck there?
Okay, so let's see the original, which it's got a Regidrago uh, um,
Wait, Alexi.
VMAX. I'm sorry, Regieleki VMAX, which is a walling option as well as decent attack. You get to play the Prism Star Tapu Koko to get energy acceleration. Plays 2 copies of Vikavolt. So besides the 2 copies of Miraidon to set up 2 copies of Vikavolt, so you're kind of Vikavolt V, right? So you're kind of leading into that. I would think 1 copy of Iron Thorns. There's a lot of Iron Thorns decks in expanded in the tournaments in Japan too. So for good or
Yeah.
for bad, there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
And
Probably for bad.
probably for bad, yeah. Probably wouldn't don't mind that I'm missing that. So the lightning deck. Talk about you get to play electric power, which of course is very good. Or electro power, sorry. Lightning does 30 more, which is a lot like the fighting one, which the premium power pro. It's essentially the same thing, right? Just different type. Um, well, I mean, yeah, hang on. So on the Lugia deck, yeah, it's stuff you'd expect. You get to play
Lugia.
well, I mean,
Lucario.
on the Lucario deck, sorry. You get to play Raihan, which I like. You do too. Makes things a lot better just in general for a lot of these decks. Especially this one's a two energy attacker. I might need to set up something else. Unfortunately, was seeing a fair amount of psychic decks in expanded, so that made the Mega Lucarios a lot less effective.
Yeah, just wondering what decks have you been seeing? I haven't played that much. I played some, as I said. I saw some standard. I saw Reggie Draco, and I saw. I don't remember. I don't remember. I think I might have played against Chip Household. I wonder if it was the same person. They didn't set up though. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, because you've been playing more than I have. So what have
Some
you been seeing?
I mean, I've seen today. I saw Chien Pao, Excalibur, and then I guess there was the psychic, which would be the Gardevoir, um, and
Like
then
EX,
yeah,
Mega
Gardevoir
Gardevoir.
EX. Sorry, what's that?
Okay,
Yeah,
not
I don't
Mega.
think I saw the Mega, and I don't think I saw him play Mega. But when I was
Okay,
playing a Mega Lucario deck, I have the single prize Lucarios, but to try to carry the day with that is kind of dicey.
yeah.
Is what I will say. So, but that was the only hope I really had with the fighting deck. And then I'm trying to think. I think I saw a little bit of Welder too, because people like Welder. Welder's not like in the tournaments in Japan. I don't know if there's any Welder decks because I don't. There's not at the same power level of these other decks, but they're fun and quick to set up. And was seeing some of the ones that want to get ener- energies in the discard
Like
attackers.
Stereo Edge or something
I think yeah,
else.
that, and I think there's something else as well. I was seeing a different build, different Pokemon, um, and I don't think things tended to go well with for them in those games that I
Yeah.
was
Oh,
seeing.
like Volcarona or something.
Yeah, I think something like
B.
that.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oh, I will say I did see multiple people playing Mamoswine. I think it was different people. Well,
okay,
I assume it was Mamoswine. They never got the Mamoswine out. The one game I like. Wait, no, or was it both games? I don't know. I like Hiram knocked out three of their Pokemon, one if not both of the games. One was with Reggie Draco or Lugia. I don't remember which it was, but anyways, Hiram was rough for them. And also, I think that deck was just like a standard deck, which seems like bad. Like, why do you play it expanded where other people's decks are better, and you play like a deck that's not good in standard, and you don't update it for expanded? That seems like a bad idea.
yeah. At least update it for expanded. Right, I play Team Rocket's Weezing, which is not a good standard deck. And yes, it gets. I have a lot of good cards that get added. I can tell you that, but it still obviously gets still the boost is less than all the other expanded decks, but it was still fun to play. And like I said, I did win games decent amount with it, shockingly. Also, like Mega Lucario benefits a lot from Quick Ball. We've talked about it, but anything both for the on playability and if you want energy in the discard, which this deck does, super good cards. I like Quick Ball. I hope they really bring it back at some point because I think it's a more enjoyable card than Nest Ball myself for what the things it allows you to do.
Yeah, I feel like Pokemon has actually, they've kind of changed their design philosophy some to make it more focused on Pokemon that don't have on play abilities. Like in standard, we have
Right.
Holucha as an on play ability. I can't really think of anything else that's particularly good that has an on play ability, like as a basic.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Charizard EX does, but then you have stuff like Pheasantipede EX and Squawkbilly EX, the two main support Pokemon, the multi-prize support Pokemon in standard, and they are both abilities that are not on play from hand. They are they do something once they're in play, and so that's different than like Crobat V did any GX, Tapu Lele GX, among others that we've seen expanded and we've seen in the past, and I think Quickball is cool. We've also seen the stadium that puts damage counters on Pokemon when you play them. Normally, that in the past has been from hand, but this one
Right.
isn't from hand. It can also be damage counters from Nest Ball. So that's like kind of interesting. Ultimately, I don't know how much it actually matters. Quick ball discarding is like interesting as well, some upside and downside. So I like that, but ultimately, I think there's a lot of cool cards in expanded that I'd like to see, but obviously, I'd like to see them in expanded. There, as we've been saying though, there are some cards we don't really want to see in expanded either.
Yeah. I want to make a general comment on expanded. Um, it, and I don't think we're going to break down the deck because I don't think you want to. But a Team Rocket's Porygon Z deck, which I probably should have just played Porygon 2 with the special energies that you have access to. But that's what I did with the Team Rocket's Crobat. But one thing I didn't do, which is I didn't add any cards in expanded for Pokemon Search. in that deck at all. I don't think.
Oh,
Um,
not like quick power. I guess
I
I
guess
guess
I
you can do
added
quick ball.
Evo Incense. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
put that in, which is good, but that not a big change. And I think it just shows to me the state we have a lot of good Pokemon search cards in standard, right? With Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, and such. So, there's times in the game when they're having a good Pokemon search. We have good search in Pokemon search in standard, and that is a good thing, right? Because if you can't get your Pokemon into play, you just not the game's not happening.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the only reason that would be a bad thing is if it made the games too similar to each other. But I certainly don't think that's the case. More search gives you more things that you can do with your deck, so you can be more creative there. And on top of that, you I don't know. It just I think it's just good. Being able to do what you want to do is important, and it's not like decks are like. Also, they're not like setting up perfectly consistently all the time either. So, and I agree that it's in good in a good spot.
All right, so I want to get your opinion on a couple cards here, which are in the Miraidon deck. I just want to mention one of them, which I'm glad to have in the deck, is Thunder Mountain, another Prism Star Stadium card, which is a nice lightning and Pokemon attacks cost one less, so only one energy. You get Vikavolt going, so you get that item lock up immediately. What's more fun than that? Probably many
Yeah.
things, but that's the way expanded is. But cards that aren't in live expanded. There's Trainer's Mail's one card, which is a very good card.
Yeah.
Look at the top four cards of your deck, reveal a trainer, put it in your hand, shuffle it into your deck. I've been replacing with Acrobike. Uh,
Yeah.
I guess is that the best play? Acrobike, you look at the top two, one in hand, one gets discarded, right?
Yeah. That's what I did,
Okay.
but you could do Poke Gear as well. But that's pretty different. Trainer's Bell is often getting you like items.
Right.
So
So there's not really a good. Trainer's Mail. I do wish was in. That's one of those cards I definitely wish was in our format because it just helps you set up. It's not crazy overpowered, but being able to look, you get something useful most of the time when you can play it. Right, four cards. You should get one item of some type that has some value. So I missed that
yeah, I
card.
will. There are what is it? Order Pad and Cramomatic, which are coin flip cards. So they're probably not what you want. They're not what I want, but they are. They can get you Order Pad gets you items. Chromatic, gets you anything,
Yep.
but discards an item from your hand. So those could be a replacement, but they're pretty different.
Yep.
But if you're going for that like really fast turbo-y item heavy build, that could be what you want if you're going for like Donk or something like that. Which I haven't seen, but that is like okay and live expanded and
Right.
full expanded. Yep.
Yay. Yeah, yay, Donk.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about since you brought up coin flip cards, the card looking for an alternate to Max Elixir, which because this deck
Is
plays
that
for
not?
it's not no, it's not in it's too old.
Oh,
So
Max Elixir. Yeah,
Max
yeah.
Elixir, which lets you look at the top six of your cards, attach a basic energy to one of your basic Pokemon on the bench, and Miraidon Box. The four electric generator aren't enough, and the Tapu Koko uh, Prism Star's not enough, so we gotta play these max elixirs as well. So it's just turbo energy crazy. I went with Turbo Patch, everybody's BDF card, right, to replace it. What do you think about that?
Yes, also what I was thinking. I'm trying to think if there's something like it that accelerates energy. That's like kind of situational but good. Let me quickly check. Um, let's see. It's just an item that like gets energy. I'm gonna take a quick look. I don't immediately see anything here. There is. Let's see. Depending how crazy you want to get here, you could use what's it? Well, you could play Energy Switch. Do you play Energy Switch?
I do not in this list, so I
Okay.
obviously could slot that in if
For Tapu
necessary.
Koko. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you could do some form of energy acceleration, like anything, and then you can use Rainbow Brush, which is choose an energy attached to one of your Pokemon, search your deck for a basic energy card, and switch it with that card. Then you shuffle the first energy into your deck, so it like swaps an energy with a different energy. So you could like do like for example TMS Ogerpon, and then like switch it to Lightning Energy or something like that. That seems bad. That seems really bad, but you
Well,
could do that.
yeah, for a deck that's playing Miraidon to help get things set up and a lot of lightning energies to hit with your generators, I don't think I want to add another energy type and stuff. But yeah, interesting idea. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, there's also stuff like Raihan. Wait, do you play Raihan?
Yeah, it's got, I think, a copy of Raihan in the deck. So,
Yeah, it's
actually,
obviously not as fast, but
yeah, actually, no, it doesn't play it. Sorry, this deck does
okay.
not have it, and I didn't slot it in. And then a question I have for you on a supporter, which I don't know the value, and I don't know if it's a substitute anyway, but Karen, right? Each player shuffles all Pokemon from the discard pile into your deck. Why is it playing this? And what else would I want? Is this a counter card, the Karen?
It could be a counter card, yeah, to I mean Reggie Draco, right? That it gets their attackers back, which they then can't use.
Okay.
And
Yep.
also there are decks like Mad Party or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think they're that popular. I think it's mostly there for. I mean, it is a recovery support as well, so it could be useful for
Yeah.
that. It can be used to hurt decks that really want to play from this card pile, and decks that just want to thin a lot, and that like get rid of a lot of things. You want to get Pokemon out of your deck. I'm not sure though. I'm not super familiar with it outside of as a counter to Night March and when it was in Standard.
Right.
I think it is there for countering like Reggie Draco, though. I gotta assume. I mean, if it's played as a counter, it's probably a counter to Reggie Draco.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes sense. The other thing is it's the only Pokemon recovery, so it also
Yeah.
does serve that value, and there are a number of one ofs. So I probably should just put in a rescue stretcher. I think, assuming I don't want to recover the energies, right? Which that supporter
Yeah.
doesn't. So rescue stretcher, which is a nice card too. I don't think we talked about that, but for like the Team Rocket's Porygon Z, an all special energy deck, it gives me the option of one Pokemon from discard pile to hand, or three Pokemon up to three from discard pile into deck. So one to hand or three to deck is it's just a better Pokemon recovery than the other options in expanded.
Yeah, it's good. I'd say for a while it was like a lot better than anything we had in Standard. But with Night Stretcher does. I mean, the big thing is getting it back to hand, which when
Right.
comboed with something like Battle Compressor, acts as a Pokemon search card realistically. So that's like kind of cool here. But ultimately, I don't know how much it does matter, but it
Yeah.
is really nice, obviously, if you don't want that basic energy.
Right. For special energy decks, it's really good because then you could put them into the deck too. It just gives you a little flexibility. If you're playing basic energies, it's obviously then it's a more of a decision of what your deck needs, right? Or if it's some
Yeah.
split or how you're going with it.
hmm
So that kind of hits the cards I wanted. Anything you want to hit before we wrap up here?
I'm trying to think. Overall, I feel like the uh, the like slightly stronger trainers are fun in live expanded. There are some trainers though from full expand that I want to see. The cards I don't want to see from full expanded are going to be things like Garbodor, Vileplume, and certain things that are like kind of go along with those. But those are like abilities that just completely turn off your opponent's either abilities or item cards. It also turns their own off, which also makes the game more boring. It slows it down for both players and leaves
Yeah.
it to just pretty uninteresting in my opinion. Um, so but I think the format is cool in terms of the card pool. There's some really fun stuff. Ultimately, people just don't play it that much. People don't talk about it that much. People sometimes people enjoy watching content on it from what I've made, but not all the time either. It kind of depends, right? But
Yeah.
ultimately, I'd recommend trying it out. It is a fun format. You can check out our videos on it. I think we've each made some about live expanded. Maybe talk about certain decks or just different things there. More podcast episodes about it, things like that. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. But yeah, I think that's about it for today's episode here.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Um, and then it's the pokekabook.com is the Japanese site, which is really the place to get up to date, full expanded lists. One of the funny things is it auto translates to English for me, and I think you know that too. And that some of the deck names are very odd in a lot of cases, which is kind of entertaining.
Yeah, but it is, as you said, still a very, very good resource for different things, but specifically expanded decks and other Japanese tournament results. So Limitless
Yep.
does have some of that. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure, as I said, you subscribe to our YouTube channels. And also, if you have questions for one of us, do comment it on YouTube. If you comment it somewhere else, we probably won't see it, unfortunately, because of the way things work. But you can still listen to us on podcasting platforms like Spotify or the other ones. I don't know. But we hope you enjoyed, and as always, we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.